Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg out at the Department of Ag, Trade, Consumer Protection with my friend Michelle. Never have actually been on camera with you before.
No.
Always sitting behind the camera talking with you.
This is exciting.
It's a pleasure, and I appreciate all the help that you've done over the years working with us. And today we're picking up on tax identity theft. Tax season right around the corner, or
Absolutely.
it already is here, whichever way you want to look at it. Going into this, let's talk about looks at the refund and the scams that kind of come about it. What should folks be looking for this upcoming year?
Well, we want consumers to file their taxes right away, as early as possible, and that's one of the best tools to combat identity thieves. You want to get to your return before they do. So filing as early as possible. But now we have, before you file, what do you do to protect your information? And that's selecting a tax preparer. You know, what's the best way to select that preparer? Or if you're filing yourself, how do you protect that information and transmitting the data? So let's start with the tax preparer piece of it. You want to be sure that you check out the preparer you're going to use before you give them any personal information. So go ahead, call Consumer Protection, see if they've had any complaints, talk to friends and family about who they've used in the past, if anyone. And then you need to ask them some questions. Go ahead and ask them how they're going to protect the information. How do they transmit that data? What's their security system within their company, and what data do they hang on to of your information? Never just do any blank signing of any documents. Don't hand over any authorizations to share the data unless you fully read the documents, understand them, and agree to what you are authorizing. And then be sure that you get a copy of what has been filed. That's really important as well. So if you have any problems with the IRS or Department of Revenue, you know what was filed on your behalf. And that will go a long way in the end. Now, if you're preparing the taxes yourself, you need to be sure you're starting with a safe system. If you're using your computer and it's online because you're going to e-file, you need to be sure that you have the latest operating system up to date on your system, that you've run your antivirus software, and that you have no malware loaded or any viruses that will transmit data. And then, you know, be sure that when you do file, you're using a secure Wi-Fi system, that you're not at the public library just using a public access point where other people can be kind of hovering over and collecting that data, that man-in-the-middle situation. You want to know about the system that you're on. So those are secure ways there. And be cautious if you're transporting your data to a coffee shop to work on the taxes. People can hover around and see what's going on. You can end up at hot spots that aren't truly secure, and you need to be cautious of those things, that no one picks up your information that way.
Really good tips there. What about, we see a lot at this time about, hey, if you do the taxes with us, we'll give you money before you ever get your return. It seems like a shady deal. What would be the warning there?
So you're talking more refund anticipation loans, and there you need to really understand what that interest rate will be, if there is any. If they're giving you a loan up front, what's the interest rate on that? What if you don't actually get the full return back that they are anticipating and provide you a loan for, that amount of money doesn't come in your return? What are you going to owe, and how quickly do you need to pay that back? So all the terms and agreement, and do that math all the way through. I mean, if you need that anticipation loan for that amount, what would it be if you went to a bank to get it? And then what happens to the money? Does the tax return still come to you, or is it going to go directly to that preparer? Because what if you end up with more, or again with less? How do you do that verification in that timing situation? So a bunch of questions that you need to think through, do math about, and you don't want to make quick decisions. You want to do your research before you enter into any of these agreements.
You may be trying a new tax preparer, you may try it online. Does the IRS ever call people directly? So we find out there's a problem. How are we going to find that out? again, whether it's call, whether it's email, how's that work?
So the government does not make phone calls. That is the baseline that we try and use and make sure that all consumers understand that. We see a large number of IRS fake phone calls happening during this time of year and through April and May and June when refunds are being processed and returned to consumers. The first way that you hear from the government when there's an issue is by mail. If you have any issue where your return's going to be less or they're questioning and withholding more, you receive something in writing. And then you would file an appeal or a dispute with them. You'd make contact, and then you would be assigned someone and be notified who that is. And then you might get a phone call, but you're going to know who it is. If the IRS does any form of collection from delinquent payments from past tax years, you find out through a 2-letter process who you're being assigned to for that collection. The IRS first sends you a letter saying who the collector is that they're assigning you to, and then the collector contacts you by letter as well about that delinquent tax payment that's owed, and you never make payments to someone other than the IRS for those issues.
And please, for the love of humanity, do not pay by gift card for any. Don't do it. It's just, I cannot stress that enough. I think.
If you can remember this, gift cards are for giving, they're not for making payment. It's a tagline that the Federal Trade Commission is really trying to get out there to really remind consumers that when contacted by these scam artists who demand that you wire money or make payment by gift card, that is not the way that business does business. They don't want you to pay by gift card. The IRS doesn't need iTunes gift card payments. They don't need Google Play payments. So be sure that you're disconnecting those phone calls. And those scam artists love to keep you on the line too. So they'll walk you all the way to the store. They'll tell you what to say when the clerk asks you about purchasing such high-dollar gift cards. You need to disconnect that phone call. Check in with friends, family, or consumer protection.
Michelle, where can people go to find more information, send in that complaint, whatever the case may be?
Sure. So our consumer hotline's available 7:45 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, and that number is 1-800-422-7128. Or you can go to our website any time of day at datcp.wi.gov.
There you go. You've been informed for tax season. Michelle, always a pleasure, and look forward to having you back on the show.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick break. You are watching Talking Fitchburg.